The third installment of the Tron franchise is officially here. Titled Tron Ares, directed by Joachim Roning, starring Jared Leto, Greta Lee, Evan Peters, and Jeff Bridges. This movie is about a highly sophisticated program by the name of Ares, who goes from the digital world into ours on a mission. So we're going to talk about this movie and help you decide whether or not it's the right one to watch as a Christian right now. Hey friends, welcome to the channel. I'm your host Tim, and we exist to help Christians live in the world, not of the world, by utilizing our convictions in the movies and shows we watch. Tron Ares is rated PG-13 for violence and action. There also is some brief language in this movie as well. So we're going to dive into any convictions you may have that may prevent you from watching Tron Ares, any theological themes present within the film, and wrap it up with my own personal thoughts on this movie. Without further ado, let's dive into the Christian Conviction Meter. If this is your first time here on the channel, the Christian Conviction Meter is a series of 5 convictions that may distract or hinder your relationship with Jesus. Ultimately, this is a guide, tool, and resource to help you figure out whether or not Tron Ares aligns with the convictions that God has given you. And kicking things off here with our first category of violence and gore, this is a very action-packed film. In fact, I would say it's the most action-packed of the 3 Tron films thus far. There's lots of explosions, lots of combat, whether hand-to-hand or with weapons such as discs and spears and a bunch of different things here. At the same time too, there also is definitely a bit more in terms of just cuts, bruises, scrapes, things of that sort. There isn't any significant amount of blood. However, there is a scene in which a character does get stabbed, and there is kind of a darker color around where the stab occurred, obviously signifying blood, but it is not gory or bloody in any way, shape, or form. It is PG-13, but it is definitely a softer PG-13 in terms of just its goriness, so that is something to keep in mind. There is also blaster fire and destruction that's a part of this film, and the big part of it is the grid invading our world. So we just see lots of destruction of buildings and police cars and other vehicles. It's just a lot of destruction within this film. All that to say, we are going to give this a 3 out of 5 in this category. Our next category is lust, and there is nothing to worry about within this film. It's going to be a 0 out of 5 in this category. Our next category is substances, and the only thing that I found in watching this film is a segment in which a character drinks a beer. That's about it. To be on the safe side, we are going to give this a 1 out of 5. Our next category is language. Profanity is what we're going to be talking about here. And there's 2 words that I did pick up in watching this film. I believe hell is used, and then the DA word is used a few times within the film. This is actually the most language we see within the Tron franchise, so we are going to give this a 2 out of 5 in this category. And our last category is intense/horror scenes. This is not a horror movie by any means, which means you don't have any sort of horror imagery or anything of that sort to worry about. That being said though, this is a very intense film. There is a lot here. Like I mentioned, there's destruction, explosions, things that we saw, of course, in this film, both on the grid and in our world. At the same time, too, there is a lot of high-speed chases, whether it is by a light ski, I don't know what to call it, a watercraft, but it's a grid watercraft. Anyways, that's besides the point. Between that, light cycles, of course, a recognizer, a lot of different vehicles are used throughout the film, kind of similar in the way of what Tron Legacy had in terms of their high-speed chases, as well as even the original Tron as well. But I would definitely say there's a bit more risk and a bit more destruction that is a part of this film. The other thing to note here is that there is several characters who do die within the film, and the biggest thing to note here, in my personal opinion, is anytime one of our programs, those who are people on the grid, anytime a program gets de-resed, some of them do scream, it's very painful. It's a little more in your face graphic than compared to Tron Legacy and, of course, the original Tron film. So that is something to keep in mind here. All of that to say, though, we are going to give this a 3 out of 5 in this category as well. So our grand total on the conviction meter is going to be a 9 out of 25. This is the exact same as Tron Legacy. However, I would say it still is a little bit more intense, a little bit more in its intensity and its violence and gore compared to Tron Legacy. But all that to say, they are still pretty comparable. I mean, they are in the same franchise, so that makes sense. All of that to say, if any of the areas we talked about compromises your convictions in any way, shape, or form, listen to your convictions. No movie is worth more than the convictions God has given you, so make sure to keep those first. So with that wrapped up, it leads us into our next topic as we dive into some theological themes that are present within Tron Ares. And the biggest thing to note here, while there isn't anything explicitly about Jesus, Christianity, the Bible, the church, none of that is necessarily contained within the film. There are greater themes of humanity, loss, love, the beauty of being human, as well as the flaws of being human. The talk of permanence versus impermanence, things of that sort are all enveloped as kind of a emotional center of this film. And again, it is definitely a much more worldly interpretation, but there is still a beauty that is talked about because there is a beauty of humanity. God created us in his image. We are imago Dei, but we do reflect God in his image. And so because of that, right, we experience the emotions of being human. And so it was a nice touch to the film that definitely surprised me. But again, it isn't explicitly Christian, so I do want to preface that. That leads us into our last category, our last part of the video, as we dive into my thoughts on Tron Ares. Tron is one of those franchises that I don't think gets enough love, if I'm being honest. It's not as popular as a Marvel or a DC, a Star Wars, a Harry Potter, some of those other franchises that are known and loved by millions, dare I even say billions of people around the world. But anytime a Tron movie is released or announced or comes out, I definitely do get excited because I do think that the world building here of the Tron universe is really, really good. And specifically, the grid is just so fascinating. It's a great world to just dive into, and we get to see a bit of a different perspective on it. It definitely is unique in that regard. The other thing to note with this film is, while it is the third film of the franchise, it is very much kind of like the other films, a bit standalone-ish. Dare I say more than Tron and Tron Legacy, but it does bring anyone in who is just interested in this film in particular. It does bring them up to speed about what has happened in the last two films and what has happened since then. At the same time, too, it also pushes a little further into what could come eventually if they do ever decide to do a Tron 4, which by that point will probably be 15 years from now. Visually, this movie is stunning. That is definitely a hallmark of the last two Tron films, where Tron Legacy is just a beautiful film visually, and this one is no different. I love the use of red in this film, and it's definitely a nice contrast compared to the blue. That was a big, heavy emphasis of the last film. But again, it is still a very visually stunning film. The CG here is really well done. Overall, very, very solid here. I also would like to say that it does look different compared to Tron Legacy in just the way things are presented. The way information is presented feels very much like kind of a mix of Iron Man and Avengers Age of Ultron to also just kind of its own thing. It's really cool, and I really, really dug it. The other thing to note here is, like I said, there is all new characters. It's a whole new story. And it does actually pay really good homage to the original Tron film as well. There's some few fun sequences that do pay homage to that original film and its style. I also do want to say, casting-wise, is overall, across the board, pretty solid. Greta Lee is very much our lead within the film, and she overall is a really solid character, very enjoyable. I don't necessarily have any complaints about her character specifically. I do wish that we got more development from her. Because while the movie is called Tron Ares, like I said, she is the lead character in the film. But yet her character development feels very much like a side character. She doesn't have a lot of development that she goes through. And if anything, it's just done in dialogue. It's not necessarily done in terms of actions, right? And that is definitely a weak part of the film, and that's an issue across the board with this film in particular, is its lack of character development, but also it's a big issue within the Tron franchise, if I'm being honest. Our side characters here are pretty good as well. Evan Peters and Jodie Turner-Smith are really solid villains. I do want to give a special shout out here to Evan Peters. I think he just did a really great job being the next Dillinger. But overall, again, they were solid villains. I don't think anything's going to top Clue. I think Clue is just a really great villain. And so kind of hard to top that, but still a really solid effort to bring about a good villain. Now let's talk about the biggest star within the film, kind of the elephant in the room, so to speak, and that is Jared Leto. I know a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on him. Some love him, some despise him. It depends on the role for me. His Joker, not good at all. Him as the Hatbox Ghost in the Haunted Mansion, though, was honestly really solid. This film, he wasn't bad. I think he played the character of Ares very kind of straight-laced, especially in the beginning where he felt very robotic, and that obviously is on purpose because he is a program. I thought that was done well. The challenge I have is not necessarily within his performance, so to speak, but it is within how the story progresses of why Ares does what he does within the film. There really is a lack of explanation, and that is another issue that the Tron franchise struggles with. Lack of explanation, right? And so he just kind of makes this jump, this leap, this new decision for reasons that, while they are subtle, could be a little clearer, and I think there should have been a more emotional pull of why he made this decision, why he chose to do this, right? I wish that was there, and it's definitely lacking within the film. And of course, just like the last film, the highlight of this film, for me personally, is going to be its soundtrack. Instead of Daft Punk, who unfortunately has retired, they both split, they're no longer doing music together, Nine Inch Nails comes to take the place and the reins of making music for the Tron franchise. And it has a very distinct musical style within this one that separates it from Daft Punk. There are elements that kind of have that Tron sound, but it also takes its own industrial spin to it that I really enjoy. I think it's well thought out, and it's done very well. There also are some melodies and beats within the film that definitely surprised me because they don't necessarily align with the Tron films. And so overall, a really solid soundtrack. And overall, it's a pretty decent film. Was it terrible? No. Was it phenomenal? Also, no. It's a very solid film, but I wouldn't say it's the best of the franchise. It's hard to top Legacy. I think that one is just really, really good, but it still is an enjoyable film, better than the first. I'm going to give it a 7.7 out of 10. Overall, it's a 7.7 out of 10. Like I said, it's a 9 out of 25 on the conviction meter. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down in the comments below. And while you're down there, consider hitting that like, subscribing for us, joining our community here on YouTube. If you're looking for more videos on Tron, we have Tron Legacy's review right up here or here. I can't remember which spot I put it, but it's here. If you want to take a look at that, thank you so much for spending time out of your day with us. We truly appreciate it. We'll see you all in the next one.